Hey, I'm Markia. Want to hear something scary? Pray for Wechuge. Wendy, Melting Tallow, and her grandfather were on the hunt. They slowly moved through the snow-covered forest, tracking the Wechuge that had been terrorizing their tribe and town. Several members had gone missing and were later discovered dead and half devoured by the creature. Even worse was the fact that the Wechuge was one of their own. When anyone breaks taboo and becomes too strong from that, they are in danger of being possessed by ancient spirit animals. Once possessed, the person slowly becomes more bestial and hungers for human flesh. Wendy's grandfather was the tribe's shaman, a role she would one day assume, and together, it was their responsibility to stop the creature, no matter what. Wendy's grandfather held his shotgun tightly. He told his granddaughter, "Wechuge are crafty tricksters. They will use any tactic to lure their prey into death." But as the day grew colder, she started to doubt that they would ever find the creature. They had been hunting in the woods for several days with no luck. As she was about to suggest they head home for the night, Wendy discovered strange tracks in the snow. They were like nothing she had ever seen before, like a human foot, but with a hoof and a claw. She pointed them out to her grandfather, and they followed their prey deeper into the woods. They pursued the tracks late into the night until they reached a sharp cliff. Wendy was suddenly struck by a terrible feeling in the pit of her stomach. She looked around. A large being with a lopsided grin was headed towards them. They were no longer the hunters. They were the prey. Slowly, Wendy and her grandfather turned all the way around to see the fearsome Wechuge. Lurching towards them, its gaunt frame was still vaguely human, but covered in patches of mangy fur. Its head was adorned by jagged antlers, and it leered at them with hungry red eyes. Drool poured out of its toothy mouth. Long clawed fingers twitched in anticipation of grabbing its prey. Just as her grandfather put his finger on the trigger, Wendy slammed herself into him. He fell on his side and the bullet shot into the dark sky. "Stop! He's family! He's my brother!" she screamed. Before her grandfather could respond, the creature crashed into him, knocking him back to the ground. Wendy remembered how her younger brother Cody was relentlessly picked on by all the other kids because he was so small and frail. But after last summer's growth spurt, he was suddenly the biggest kid in his school. Cody used his newfound strength and height to become an even worse bully and terrorized everyone who ever bothered him. His cruelty made him the perfect target for the Wechuge spirit, and now he hunched over his own grandfather, ready to feast on him. Wendy pleaded with her brother and begged him to stop, but the possessed creature growled and sank its claws deeper into their grandfather. Wendy stood at the edge of the cliff. "I will throw myself over the edge," she yelled. She had always stood up for her brother and protected him from the monstrous ways of others. "I will not live in a world where you become one of them." The creature hesitated and looked at Wendy. In that moment, it remembered his sister's love, and that memory was enough for Cody's human spirit to assert control. Hoisting the monster off himself, the grandfather picked up his shotgun. Wendy ran, putting herself between them, refusing to allow either to hurt the other. Slowly, Cody's appearance became more human as the Wechuge spirit receded. As it left Cody's body, it looked at Wendy and said, "I know you now. All of your family. I will return." Then the spirit disappeared. Wendy hugged her brother tightly as her grandfather said, "The Wechuge spirit will always plague us until finally it returns to possess one of us when we least expect it." Wendy held her now fully human brother and looked up at her grandfather with tears in her eyes and said, "Then we'll keep fighting back together, no matter what."